He was born in Tel Aviv when it was still in the British Mandate for Palestine. His parents were Polish Jewish immigrants. And he served in the IDF and then studied engineering and has been living here in the US since 1960. But Judea Pearl is not just an acclaimed professor of science and technology. Sadly, Judea was affected by a terrible terrorist atrocity. He is the father of the journalist Daniel Pearl, who was kidnapped and murdered by Islamic terrorists in Pakistan in 2002, just over 20 years ago. Judea Pearl is an incredible personality, full of vigor, full of joy. He may be in his 80s, but he outdoes all of us, even those much younger than him. He has been the moving force behind today's event, and indeed he's the moving force behind many things, and an inspiration to all of us. So please give a very, very warm welcome to Professor Judea Pearl.
I now wish to reflect briefly on the process that led to the successful vote on November 29 of 1947. We ought to give thanks to so many people and so many countries and so many communities. Each vote was a miracle, and each deserved ample credit. But I would like to salute two special heroes of mine, whose pivotal role in the process usually is not given enough credit. The first is President Harry Truman. We all know the stories about his former business partner, Eddie Jacobson, who wrote to him in October of 1947, "Harry, my people need help, and I would like you to help them." And he wrote back to him and said, "When I come back to Missouri or to Kansas, I'll tell you why things are not as simple as you think." And Eddie Jacobson wrote him back, "Harry, I would like you to meet Chaim Weizmann. He needs one more audience with you." And he gave him the audience. And it was a critical audience. Because Truman found out that the State Department is planning to sabotage the vote of US in the UN. Sabotage in the sense that the ambassador, his name was Austin, I believe, Warren Austin, yeah. He will get the confusing instructions, and so will perhaps not be present, or perhaps will vote no. So Harry Truman made sure that the telephone line between the White House and the UN will be under his sole control, and he will be the last person to talk with the ambassador Austin. And that's what happened. And he was the last one to call and say, "Vote yes." We should also remember what made Harry Truman so sympathetic to the Zionist cause. Now, he had a business partner, Eddie Jacobson, but that was not it. He studied the Bible. And he saw himself as King Cyrus, the Persian king who allowed the Jews to come back to their homeland after the exiles and rebuild the temple. And he had a fight with the State Department, with George Marshall, who actually threatened him not to vote for him in the next election, which was very close. As you know, Dewey almost won the election. But Harry Truman defied George Marshall, and he voted yes. And guess how many minutes after the State of Israel was declared that Harry Truman picked up the phone and recognized the State of Israel? No, it wasn't 11 days. It wasn't 11 hours. It was 11 minutes. My second hero is the Yishuv, as we saw and as we heard from the choir. We must remember that the Jewish population in 1917 was barely 60,000, 6% roughly of the population. It's totally insufficient for statehood. Maybe national home, but not statehood. So only this tenfold explosion from 60,000 to 600,000 in 1947 made the idea of a state a viable option. It wouldn't be an exaggeration to state that the tractors of Beit Halfa and Nahalal had as much role in ushering the state of Israel than the diplomats in Lake Success. The elaborate infrastructure laid by the issue before 1947 won the admiration of all the UN delegates to the area and compelled them to recommend partition. Finally, to those who claim today that the UN and the world powers had no right to draw borders against the wishes of the Arabs, I would say, relax. Israel was not established by the UN. It was already there when they drained the swamps of Emek Israel. And Shir HaEmek that we heard from the choir, Shir HaEmek sang today is our trust deed. Thank you.